Okay, welcome back. So for today, we will have the installation of our Windows Server 2008. So previously we had the installation for the Windows 7 Professional Edition. So this time we will have the server portion. Okay, so same process. We need to create our virtual machine. So click create a new virtual machine on our VMware workstation. And then a wizard will pop up and we need to continue the process. So click next. Then here, select which portion do you want uh, to get your installation media. So in this case, we have it in the ISO image. So we need to select the disk image. So point it to our installer and then, okay, we need to proceed. Click next and they don't have any key. Click next. Okay, so we'll put the code of the class. Okay, then click next. So we'll follow the standard measures of our capacity. So click next and then click finish. So system will now continue the installation. Okay, so on first run, upon restart, your computer will prompt you to press any key. So make sure to press any key so that installation will continue. Okay, so it will prompt us a key in the keyboard. If you don't press any key, then the system will not continue and will mention that there is no bootable media or could be the OS cannot be found. Okay, right. So this will ask us later on with the key and we don't have it to click next and then we need to click okay no. So we don't have any key. We need to click no. We will just be using the demo version or the trial version of the OS. It's just for learning purposes. Okay, so we need to select here. We have um, our Windows Server 2008 Enterprise. Click this one. Then, alright, so check. I have selected edition of Windows that I purchased. So currently, this is a demo version. Okay, click next. And then installation will continue. Okay, so this will take some time, similar to that of our Windows 7 Pro. So hopefully we can finish this one in less than 30 minutes. Okay, so we will not cut the video. We will have the video, the full length of the video uploaded later on. Okay, so in the exam for the computer system servicing, we need to run the Windows 7 Pro installation and the Windows Server installation together almost at the same time so that both can finish also almost at the same time. So there will be no waste of time in the installation. Okay. Then while waiting, so you can do other stuff. You can make use of your time while waiting to work on the part for the network. So other networking, you need to crimp some cables and then we connect some cables to the patch panel and set up the full network. Okay, including the connectors for the switches. Okay. So hopefully by the end of the installation also of the OS and the actual setup, you are done working with the network part. So speed is really a need and of course speed with precision. So we don't just waste time, we cannot waste time during examination and even on the actual um, practice of our CSS. Okay, so okay, we need to restart. So by this time, when it restarts, do not press any key. Okay, so that it will not restart back the installation. Just wait, and then it will proceed to the completion of installation. Alright, so it's now loading. So you might wonder that the full-length video is quite shorter compared to the actual process that you are going into. Okay, as mentioned, it will the CPU of the unit will be a factor on the installation, so as the other configuration. Currently, I am using a Core i5 unit with my um, program files or system files running in a solid state drive. So I am using an SSD for the storage. So it is actually uh, an addition to the process. So it will help me shorten some of the time, okay, when accessing our files. Okay, we are now completing the installation. For this one, it will again ask for a restart. And by that time, we can already access our Windows Windows Server na, okay, the desktop itself. Right. So from the start of the video, we are now around 6 minutes. Okay, so it's almost done. Right. So after this, we need to set up the admin account and then change the computer name. Okay, so why change the computer name? So we need to change it so that it will be a lot easier for us to have a recall of each computer. So in the field, in the industry, to each computer will be given a name so that they will not have a trouble later on when they get into the domain system. So each computer will have its own personal name and then there is no duplication. Okay, right, so it's loading. All right, Windows is now loading. So it's almost done. Okay, so welcome to our Windows Server 2008 operating system. So we have it here. So this is the configuration. Okay, so we have initial configuration here, time zone, configuring network, computer name. So we get into here, provide computer name and domain. So we get into the computer name. So you change this one as a Windows Server, or we can just have name this one as Server 762. Oops, numlock. Alright, and then continue. Okay, as we go on, we will continue to demonstrate on the installation and setup of the domain. So this time we just have the minor changes. Okay, so restart now. Okay, alright, so let's wait for the installation of our setup of our Windows Server 2008. Okay, so we are in here, right? Applying the settings. All right, so going back into the configuration, let us check some of the components here. All right, so we have our time zone at Kuala Lumpur, Singapore. We have our network, we have our computer name, and we need to set up. Okay, go to start. Let us see what's in here. So let's go to start. Right click on computer. And then we go to manage. And then let us check our local users. Right, so we have rows here. Oops, don't have rows yet. And features, check on the features. Diagnostics, configuration, and then our storage. So we got into configuration. Okay, then get into local users or groups, go to users. So we need to disable this one. We can actually delete this one. Delete. All right. Okay, sorry. All right. Then set password for administrator. So proceed. So new password. Let's try the P at sign SSW 0 number and then RD. Then continue P at sign SSW 0 RD. All right. Click OK. Then set. Okay. So the current account is deleted, and then we'll do a restart to apply our setup. Start, and then we need to restart. So we need to set our, it could be just select any, okay, and then proceed. Alright, so it will load back to our operating system. This time, we will be prompted for our administrator account. Okay, alright. So we have here username and password incorrect. Click OK. So we need to switch user to administrator and then log in using the credentials and click OK. So we're back on the desktop. Alright, so we are now using the administrator account. Okay, so we have our server. Alright, server 762. Then, okay, so we have firewall on, remote desktop disabled. So let's try some of the things here. So say, let us check if this can already communicate. So let's check for the IP configuration. So we get IP config. Alright, so we have 180.133. Alright, so on the previous video, we have our Windows 7 Pro for code 768. So let's try to run that OS. So we have here Windows 7 Pro 762. Okay, let us power up this virtual machine. Okay, let us try to check if this two OS can communicate. Okay, Okay, so incorrect password. We use to switch user, get into the administrator. Right, so p at ss0rd, and then proceed. So maybe we can have the other account deleted. So we go to manage, go to local users and groups, users, and alright, it's deleted already. Okay, so we check also for this portion here, ipconfig, and let us see. Alright, so we are the Windows 7 Pro, the client side, we have 192.168.180.132, and then for the server side, we have our IP. Okay, that is 180.133. Okay, so let's do a ping test from our server to our client. So you have ping 192. Oops. Okay, now I'm locked, sorry. So we have ping 192.168.180.132. So this is the address of our client 132, and then hit enter. Enter. Alright, so there is a reply. Then we also check here from this side. So we need to ping this one also. Ping 192.168.180.133. Okay. Is it 133? Right, 133. This one. Okay, we cannot ping our server, but server can ping our client. So let us check what can we do. Okay, right. So here, let us configure our firewall. Let's turn this one off. Okay. So on the actual scenario in the industry, they use a physical firewall to protect the system. Okay, so here let's just try to turn this one off. Okay, turn this off. Alright, and then let's do a ping check from the client side. Alright, so ping our server. Alright, so this time we can now already access our server. So may reply na. Okay, so we have a reply from our server. So both sides can already do a communication. So let us try to configure, say, on the actual scenario in the field, the network administrators would need to check their server from a remote area. So what can we do is to set up our remote desktop connection. So we click under the server side, we click into the enable remote desktop. Okay, so click that one. Then we can go allow connections from computers running any version of remote desktop. Then click OK. Then apply. Then OK. So also under our Windows 7 Pro, let us get into the remote desktop. So you can click start and then type remote. Alright, so you'll see there different setup. Okay, click allow remote access to your computer, and then select this one, second portion, and then apply, and then okay. Now let us try to do a remote desktop connection using IP address. So we get it to start, and we get to remote. So remote, click remote desktop connection, and then we don't have the computer name. Okay, we can make use of the IP address, say 192.168.180.133. I think this is 133. Let's check. We connect administrator. We have p at ss0rd. Okay, so better if we can make use of the computer name for easy communication. Alright, so it cannot be detected. So let's check. We have is it enabled yet? Alright, enabled. This is 133. So let me check again. 133. Alright. Say click connect. Username. We will use the computer name of our server. So we have here server 762. This is server 762. Oops. Server 762 slash administrator. So computer name slash administrator and then the credentials password and click enter. So this must be able to secure the connection. Let's check the other side. Okay, it's not securing connection, and this will prompt some of the time this will prompt for remote connection. Okay, hopefully this can be successful. Right. Okay, so let's wait for a while until connection can be done. So we have here. Okay, so we are waiting for the yes. So despite the errors, we click yes. Okay, so we are now currently viewing our Windows Server from our Windows 7 Pro computer. So observe the tab here. We are now in Windows 7 Pro 762. This is the tab for the Windows Server. So this is now, we are currently working on it. When you are running the remote desktop, you can see this bar here on top side. You will see the IP address, or on some, you can, when you're on the domain, you can have the computer name of your computer that you are actually accessing. Okay, so let us check if I will close this one. This is the Windows Server Enterprise. I will close this one. Okay, then close this one also. So the other computer must have the same screen as what I am viewing. Okay, now let me get into the Windows Server 2008-762. When I click this one, this is currently on a logout. So the account here is currently logged out since there is a remote setup or a remote access from a separate computer. Now, let me close this one. Okay, so this will disconnect your remote desktop services session. So your programs will continue to run while you are disconnected. So if there are things that you are running here, so it will still continue. Let's try to run some and let us see if this will work. Okay, let's do ping 192.168.180.132, and that's how it continues ping here. So we'll put this in the middle, alright, and expand a little. Okay, now it is running, and then we close this connection here, right? Okay, so we are back on our screen for the Windows 7 Pro. Now we click into the tab for the Windows Server and see. Okay, this is click Control Alt Delete. We can Control Alt Delete here. Okay, how can I send the Control Alt Delete? Alright, alright. So press Control Alt Delete and then type in the credentials p at ssw0rd and then proceed. Can you see this one? This was the system that we tried to run, or this is the ping test we tried to run remotely. Alright, so let's close this one. Then from this server, say from this server here, let us do a remote connection. We wanted to see our other computer, the Windows 7. So tab for the Windows Server is active. We are now on the Windows Server. We need to access our Windows 7 from this computer. So click, we type 192, the address of our client, our Windows 7 Pro is 132, and click OK. Then username, what's the username for the Windows 7 Pro? Let's check. This is CPE113L 762. So going back into the server, so log in CPE113L, then 762 forward slash administrator. Don't forget the slash portion and credentials. Alright, so let's put remember credentials so that we will not be asked anymore. Okay, then let's wait for the access. So currently this is active, and then we are waiting for connection. So from the Windows 7 Pro to the server, accessing it to remote desktop, we have our server logged out. Now let us see if this will also log out the Windows 7 Pro login. Okay, hopefully this will be successful. Waiting, it's loading. Okay, okay, there's a problem on the network. Now let me check. Let's check for the firewall. Firewall. Okay, let us disable the firewall of our Windows server. Windows 7 Pro. Windows firewall. Let's turn off just to check. Again, don't worry because this is protected by a physical firewall on the actual setup. So let's try this again. Connect credentials CPE113L. This is 762 administrator. Alright, so 3L762. Alright, so let's wait. So on the physical devices, you need to really turn off the firewall before you can have a successful ping test on both sides. Now VMware, you are using the same logical network, so they can just communicate right away. Okay, so hopefully this will give us a go signal for the access. We have turned off the firewall for both sides, for both the Windows 7 Pro and the Windows Server 2008. Oops, so there's a problem. Let's do some restart. Okay, let's go restart. Alright, so get into here and then switch user. Let's use the administrator login. Alright, credentials. Alright, then maybe we can have a restart also from the server side. We will restart for this side also to make sure that everything will go well. Alright, so restart. Alright, so click OK. Alright, switch user. P at SSW0RD. Okay, so let's check from this side. Let's do a ping test first. in 192.168.180.132. Alright, so we have the connection on our other side. Now, alright, so, okay, so go to remote connection, go remote desktop connection, and then type in the IP address of our other computer, and then credentials. Alright, let's wait for a while until we establish a connection. Okay, seems that we are not able to access. Okay, okay, so we cannot access it. 762. I wonder what's the problem here. But we will try to resolve this one. Okay, then check remote. Say remote access on this side. Apply OK. Alright, so we are now able to access it. So the problem was the setup on the remote access. So currently our Windows 7 Pro is logged out and we are now accessed using the Windows Server 2008. So we are now on 192.168.180.132. So we can now see from the server our administrator. Let's check computer here. For the properties, we are now seeing the CPE 113L762. Alright, very good. Alright, so let's continue the other things on our next video. Thank you very much for joining us in this session.